Welcome to my channel, Outspoken Samantha. If you are new here, welcome. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for the support. And also make sure that you're subscribed. On my channel, I like to give my opinion and perspective on things that are happening today, things that I think actually matter to everyday people, especially those of us trying to raise kids in the insanity known as today's society. I mostly talk about current events and politics and pretty much just anything else going on in the world that I think just needs another opinion, because I know that that's what we're all dying for, is just another opinion. So be sure to like this video, leave your thoughts on this topic in the comments below, and share the video with others. Help me to grow this channel to hopefully reach more people that value logic, reason, and sanity. Also, be sure to find me on Rumble under Outspoken Samantha in the event that YouTube decides I have violated their community standards and chooses to kick me off their platform forever. That being said, let's get into today's topic. You know what I've been thinking lately? I've been thinking how I need more parenting advice from leftists, from people who think that sex change surgeries for minors is actually healthcare, for people that want to put teachers in the classroom that want to change your child's name and pronouns and hide it from their parents, the people that think that reading pornographic books to children is acceptable, and people that would bring drag queens into the classroom is a form of love and acceptance. These are the people that I was just like, you know what? I really would love for them to continue to tell me how to raise my children. Well, we are in luck, guys, because these people are only too happy to tell us how we should raise our children. Those of us apparently who want our kids to grow up being, loving and accepting of anybody, regardless of what they think or what they believe, and who want them to grow up loving the body that they were born in and to not medically mutilate themselves, who want kids to read healthy, age-appropriate material and focus on their academics while they're in the classroom instead of talking about their sexuality with their teacher. Apparently we've got it all wrong, because they know how to raise happy, successful adults who've got purple hair and who make up words that they want everybody to use as their pronouns as people are referencing them, and are so obsessed with forcing society to accept this made up identity that they literally have no idea how to do anything else with their lives. So let's get this advice, because I am just dying to know.
Because let's be clear, this is life-affirming and life-saving healthcare. When our children tell us who they are, it is our job as grown-ups to listen and to believe them. That's what it means to be a good parent.
This is Minnesota's Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and she is talking about sex change surgeries for minors, also known as gender-affirming care, when you are trying to sell it to somebody as a positive thing. But let's call a spade a spade. They are sex change surgeries for minors. And in my opinion, even more accurately, they are disfigurement surgeries, because you cannot change your sex no matter how many body parts you lop off or how many things you try and attach to yourself. You cannot change your sex. That being said, the idea that we should just let our kids make a statement about who they are when they're a child, even when they're a teenager, and that we should believe them 100% and commit them to that statement in that moment and commit them to it for the rest of their lives, is the worst parenting advice ever. And if this were the parenting standard for the last several decades or even couple hundred years, we would have a lot more dinosaurs and mermaids running around society, is all I am saying. It is perfectly fine to encourage imagination in your child and let them have fun, but it is also for their good, for their benefit, for their healthy development, to ground them in reality, to remind them that there are certain things that you just cannot escape, that you cannot imagine away. Because it is actually a sign of a good parent to tell your daughter who thinks that she's a mermaid that she cannot breathe underwater, or to tell your son who thinks that he's Superman that he actually cannot fly. Because if you let them do these things, they're going to get hurt. If you let them think that they can just imagine away reality, they are going to end up with a lifetime of pain and suffering as they continue to try to do things that you as an adult knew they couldn't do, but you didn't stop them. And in fact, you encouraged it. Because that is what Lieutenant Governor Flanagan is essentially telling parents. That if your son comes to you and says, I'm Superman, it is your job to start calling them Superman. And not only that, to take them up to the roof of your house and shove them off. Because she wants us to give our children the idea that if we keep shoving them off the roof, that they're going to learn to fly. And that's what she wants you to do if your son comes to you and says, I think I'm a girl, or your daughter comes to you and says, I think I'm a boy. She thinks it's good parenting to affirm that on the spot and then send your child down this path where they believe that eventually their body is going to be able to do things that it was just not made to do. And she's saying that the best thing that you can do is set your kid on this path where they just keep looking for the next medication or the next surgery and just one more thing, and they're going to be able to do something, that their body is going to be able to do something that it was not meant to do. The next medication is just one more shove. The next surgery is just one more shove, and you just keep shoving, and eventually your kid is going to learn to fly. It's terrible, terrible advice. Like, there's a reason that we have boundaries and that we have laws and that children have restrictions and that we lead them into adulthood one step at a time, and that we don't just dump all of the responsibilities and decision-making process on kids from the get-go, from infancy, because they don't have an understanding of consequences. They don't have an understanding of reality. They don't understand long-term implications of their decisions. They don't understand any of that. And that is why they have parents. That's why they have us, so that we can guide them, that we can ground them in reality, and we can let them know when they're going to do things that are harmful, or if they get into habits that are going to cause harm. And the only reason someone would give parents advice like this is if they wanted parents to stop protecting their children. If they wanted parents to stop protecting them from people that would harm them. So that if a teacher wants to start indoctrinating your kid into believing that they can be the opposite gender of how they were born, and your kid comes home with that idea, that you'll affirm it, that you'll just go along with it. That is the only reason they are telling parents that this is a good idea, that this is the standard for being a good parent. Because they don't mean it when they say, when your child says, who they are, we believe them, we affirm them, that's the sign of a good parent. What they mean is when your child comes to school and we teach them about gender ideology and we teach them all of the things that we want them to believe, and they come home and they relay these beliefs to you as their own, then it is your job as a good parent to affirm what we have taught them. And then there's this guy.
I want to talk to all the trans kids for a second. So if you're a trans kid, get comfortable for a couple minutes. And if you're the parent of a trans kid, then, bring them over to the phone or bring the phone over to them, whatever works. Hi, I'm James. My pronouns are they, she. And I think a lot of you knew that because a lot of you were commenting on my last video about how scared you are. And I want to talk. As you know, I'm a non-binary person. I'm 27 years old. I came out, I think 4 years ago. I was 22, 23. But I've known my whole life that I was non-binary. I've always known I wasn't a boy and I wasn't a girl. But there are a lot of people, especially politicians and powerful people, that are talking about us and specifically talking about you and your rights to your body and your right to transition. And they are weaponizing you and politicizing you, and it's hateful. And it's wrong. And you probably talk to your parents about it, or maybe your friends. And I know sometimes you DM me about it, and I read them, as many as I can. And I just want you to know that I love you.
This is textbook grooming behavior. This guy is practically begging kids to slide into his DMs and start having secret conversations with him about their sexuality. There's nothing more indicative of a groomer than a grown adult who gets online, targets their messaging toward people under the age of 18, talks about their sexuality, and then tells them that he loves them. In fact, if you ever want to teach your kids about what kind of conversations to avoid with people online, or to give them some examples of what groomers might say to draw them into a private conversation, just play them this guy. I mean, he provides point after point after point of literally everything a person that wants to groom a child would say. As for him personally and the conversation that he is trying to draw kids into, he's giving kids this idea, as most people that have been pulled into gender ideology have, that You need to have a label or pronouns that are not male or female to be able to express yourself in the way that you want to, which is total crap. Since the beginning of time, like every single human being has fallen somewhere on the spectrum of gender expression, but just because you are called pronouns that are attached to your biology does not mean that you have to express yourself in a specific way, especially if you're a grown adult and you can make those decisions for yourself. But when kids are little, I mean, you might give your son dinosaurs or you might give your daughter Barbies. But eventually kids are going to figure out what it is that they like and what they don't like, what they're interested in and what they're not interested in. But that doesn't mean that those interests indicate a discomfort with their gender or with their body. It just means that they're an individual person who has their own unique interests. This idea that because a kid picked up a certain toy or likes a certain color, that we need to change the entire trajectory of their life and completely alter who they are and start them on this path towards completely changing their mind and body is insane. Even this guy had the opportunity to go through his childhood and to explore different things in a healthy way without making any permanent decisions before he was able to understand what that means. And what he's doing is projecting his own experiences onto kids that are impressionable and trying to rob them of the most important part of that journey. And that's the opportunity to figure out who they are for themselves. He's using his own self-discovery to try and influence kids to skip over their entire childhood and teen years and get to this place where he is as a man in his mid-20s and believe that the decisions that he's making now as a grown adult are decisions that kids, that a 10-year-old or a 15-year-old is capable of making. And this guy might be part of the very small percentage of the population that actually has legitimate gender dysphoria, but that's something that he was able to figure out through his life, and he's able to make those decisions as an adult now. But the vast majority of the population does not have gender issues, and these kids are not going to obsess about their gender if you do not tell them that they need to obsess about it. So what he's trying to do is recruit kids to be his own personal fan base to gain validation from people who have no idea what he's even talking about, to make himself feel better about something that he is clearly still trying to understand for himself. You know who doesn't need to solicit kids into their DMs? People who are completely secure about who they are and who just go about living their lives and don't take to the internet to tell kids that they don't even know how much they love them and disregard the harm that they're causing because their own needs are so much more important than anyone else's well-being. And this is my favorite advice of the day. Buckle up.
Let's say you're a parent and you have a child who maybe doesn't fit in. Maybe they're being bullied at school. Maybe your little boy likes to play with dolls. Maybe your little girl wants you to call her by a boy's name. This happens. And sometimes even people in your own family don't understand it and they don't accept it. So maybe as a parent who loves their child, you want to bring them to a place where they can feel safe, where they don't feel like they're so weird and they don't feel like they're going to go to hell because they're different.
There are about 1 million different social situations that you can choose for your child to expose them to different kinds of people, to expose them to different kinds of personalities. Even just being in a classroom, you need to help your child understand everybody is different. Everybody comes from a different background. Everybody feels awkward. Everybody's trying to figure out who they are. That is how you teach your child to be accepting of others and to also figure themselves out and to understand that it's okay to be yourself. This is the last person on the planet that I would ever take parenting advice from, because this is the kind of person, up until 5 minutes ago, we all agreed that the only reason that they would want a child in their presence or in their audience while they are dancing explicitly in front of them is for predatory purposes. And there are numerous drag queens out there who will say, do not bring your kids. This idea of bringing kids to a drag show is insane. That they are well aware that the content is not kid appropriate. They are well aware that the messaging behind their shows is not about acceptance and tolerance. Live your life however you want to live your life. But getting online and saying, bring your kid to me so I can teach them about fitting in and I can teach them about self-acceptance and love, is super creepy. You know what gets exhausting on a daily basis? Having to defend why you don't support insanity, why you do not believe in doing things that are completely ridiculous, and not only ridiculous, but that are harmful. It almost makes my head explode to have multiple conversations a day with people where I have to say, I think that putting young children in the audience of a sexually explicit drag show while they're reading porn novels and setting up an appointment to have their reproductive organs removed is a bad idea. And not only that, being called hateful and bigoted for expressing that view. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. Please like this video, give it a big thumbs up, share it with others. Also be sure you're subscribed and hit the notification bell so you can be notified every time I post a video. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.